Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the channel. As usual, I'm super happy to see you here. If you're subscribed to the channel, you probably know that I like Xiaomi and that I'm personally invested in Xiaomi. With that said, I would like to deep dive into Xiaomi today because on Wednesday they just reported their Q3 of 2022, so there's a lot of new information out. Jumping into their quarterly result, we can see that they made roughly 70.5 billion renminbi in revenue, which is a stark decline from last year in which they made 78.1 billion renminbi in revenue. So they lost roughly around 10% in revenue. This reflects, of course, also in their adjusted net profit of 2.1 billion, which again also here is a strong decline from their over 5 billion renminbi revenue that they made last year in the same quarter. So generally, their revenue and their profits year over year as well as quarter over quarter is declining. But that's not the only bad news. Additionally to revenue and profit decline, we can also see that their gross margins are declining. We have a gross margin this quarter of roughly 16.6%. Last quarter, the Q2 of 2022, we had 16.8%. And again, a stark decline from last year, the same quarter, where we had a gross profit margin of over 18%. This decline in revenue and in margin leads the company to a loss for the period of 1.47 billion renminbi. That obviously is a very grim number, so they're losing money, and comparing that with last year, they actually made 788 million renminbi in profits, and last quarter they made 1.4 billion renminbi in profits. So it's the first time for a long time that Xiaomi is actually reporting a loss on the quarter. This loss can mainly be attributed to their smartphone segment, which decreased 11% from 47 billion in the last quarter to 42 billion in this quarter. Not only their shipments are falling by 8%, but also the other problem that they have is that their average selling price is decreasing by 3%. So per phone, their average selling price used to be 1,090 renminbi, and now it turned out to be only 1,058 renminbi. So their shipments are decreasing and also their average selling price is decreasing. So definitely a double whammy here. That's really, really bad to see. Additionally to that, they're also investing a lot of money in research and development, which increased by 26% to 3.2 billion renminbi, which is an insane amount of R&D costs, but they are so high because Xiaomi is currently developing a new EV car and they're burning a lot of money in that process. By the way, if you enjoyed the video so far, then don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. And besides that, a third point where Xiaomi really lost a lot of money on their bottom line is their fair value change on investments. So we can see that their fair value of investments decreased by 21% from the last quarter to 2.4 billion renminbi. So all of those 3 points together leads to that loss of 1.4 billion renminbi that we've talked about earlier. But of course, to be fair, we have to do some adjustments because obviously not all of those charges are cash charges. Some of them are just write-downs. And we see as Xiaomi is doing that, we're seeing those 1.4 billion renminbi in loss, and then we've got roughly 600 million in share-based compensation, and also that net change on investments of 3 billion. And by adding all of that back, we actually make a non-IFRS net profit of roughly 2.1 billion renminbi. And that is also the number that you've seen earlier in the presentation of the net profit that they shared. So on a adjusted basis, Xiaomi did perform okay. Additionally to that, also another thing that I really enjoyed to see with Xiaomi, and it's the same thing with Alibaba. Check out my Alibaba video next if you're interested, is their share repurchases. So looking at the share repurchases throughout the whole year, they bought back roughly 220 million shares, and only in this quarter they bought back roughly 100 million shares for a net worth of roughly a billion. So that is definitely a very good repurchase program that they're running at the moment. And have a look at this. They repurchased those shares at prices that are extremely good. So as a shareholder, I do enjoy to see that they're buying back shares at a cheap price, which definitely makes my piece of the pie bigger. The good thing is, of course, also that Xiaomi can definitely afford it. Have a look at their cash and cash equivalents position of roughly 100 billion renminbi. So every quarter they buy back, let's say, 1 billion in shares, and they still have 94 billion renminbi left over. So fantastic, right? In my opinion, I would be happy to see Xiaomi even buying back shares more aggressive with that cash, because at the moment they don't have anything better to do with it. Now, from a non-financial point of view, Xiaomi is still performing okay, but also here we can see that they are a little bit in a decline. We see as example the global shipment market, where Xiaomi is at rank 3, but what we see here and what I don't like is that their shipments year-over-year growth is declining, whereas as example Apple is really pushing hard forward, but all the others, Samsung as example, Oppo, Vivo, and all the others, they are declining, and Xiaomi is also part of that decline. Now here obviously we have to acknowledge that 2021 was extremely strong. They did really good. The whole tech industry did really good, and I believe that now there's kind of like this shift back to normality. In my personal opinion, I do think that Xiaomi is a good company. They're performing okay. Yes, they had a little bit of a decline now in the last 1 or 2 quarters, but for me, it's less of a decline, but more a reverse to the mean, because 2021 was really strong, and now I think they're kind of going back to a normal, natural growth rate again. From the point of view of their products, I think they are good. I have a lot of people around me that are using a lot of Xiaomi equipment, and all of them are fairly happy with the equipment. So I don't think there's any issue, from a product side of view. There's just a little bit of a slowdown in demand, and that has more to do with the macroeconomic environment rather than with Xiaomi themselves. So personally, I'm still bullish on Xiaomi. I think they are gonna do well. If you enjoyed that video, please subscribe, smash that like button, and see you guys next time.